should pharmaceutical companies profit off this vaccine research that taxpayers have helped fund?
This is a message from you to Mr. Balmer and Mr. Chase, with a copy to Mr. Britz, and some other people were also given copies. Dated August 15, 1997, at 4:07 p.m. on the subject of IBM and Netscape, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you type in here, importance, high.
No.
No?
No, I didn't type that.
Who typed in high?
A computer.
Yeah, right. A computer wrote it. What would you say to your kid if you found an email that had some troubling content and they said, well, that was written by a computer? We're going to get into that. And when you hear the rest of that clip, you're going to roll your eyes. You really are. Hey, everybody. It's Everett with Ohio for Freedom. Back from a little hiatus. And in this episode, we are going to discuss some chinks in the armor, Mike Dewine, Tony Fauci, and his royal emperorness of medical dynastyism, Bill Gates. And I'd like to suggest to you that these people that we think are so formidable, these people that seem to wield so much power, ladies and gentlemen, they are not invincible. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. There are more that be with us than be with them. So be of good cheer, but we're going to explore that in this video. And I want to apologize for the sound in this video right now. This is a new camera system and I hate it, but I got to suffer through it this time around and make some improvements next time. So anyway, my apologies for that. But before we get started, I would like to encourage you to become more accustomed to and to adopt the following phrase: welcome to the family, welcome aboard. What do I mean by that? I believe that the momentum is shifting, the tide is turning. I believe that more and more people are waking up to the fact that we have been sold a bill of goods. We'll get into that as we go, but without further ado, I want to look at a particularly bad week in terms of credibility that our prestigious governor had last week.
So last week was not a particularly good week for Governor Dewine, and the first story comes from Representative Nino Vitelli's Facebook page. And this was his headline: Dewine received millions by giving legal immunity to Big Pharma in times of health emergencies. When you click the story, it goes back 14 years. The story is from Consumer Watchdog. And let's read this paragraph. When senators can vote to harm the health and safety of the American public and line their own pockets while they're at it, the motive behind every vote is in question. No senator should be able to vote in his own financial interest at the expense of the public.
You know, I knew about the PrEP Act. In fact, I encourage everybody, go to Google. I don't use Google anymore, but I use DuckDuckGo, Dogpile, and a couple others. But Google Federal Register, PREP, PrEP Act 2020, Federal Register. It'll take you right where we're going to go, and it gives complete immunity to all of these companies that are making therapeutics and vaccines, and if they kill you, if they wound you in any way, they have zero liability. But I didn't really realize that Mike Dewine was one of the ones that had voted for this, and it took place on December 30th, 2005. Now ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, what are you usually doing on December 30th? A few days after Christmas, a couple of days before New Year's, you're taking a holiday, you're taking a break. But what are these guys doing when even the media, nobody's paying attention? They sneak into the Federal Register this legislation that put millions of dollars in Mike Dewine's pocket. And from Marianne Tenpenny, I learned that this took place at midnight with some fancy shenanigans. It's just extremely creepy. And the sad thing is, most Americans don't even know about this zero liability. But let's just take a look at the Federal Register for review.
And just to show, we've talked about this before, but you can DuckDuckGo or Google up PrEP Act Federal Register and read all about it and see that whatever is produced during this time of health crisis, the companies have zero liability.
Let's look at this article, recent article about AstraZeneca that is seeking immunity from liability in other countries that weren't stupid enough to enact this immunity that our country has. And one of the things they say in there is that, hey, they don't want to be held responsible if 4 years down the road there's side effects.
And as I go back to this AstraZeneca article, this is the quote. This is the unique situation where we as a company simply cannot take the risk if in 4 years the vaccine is showing side effects.
So last week we find out that Mike Dewine was part of the cabal that enacted this legislation that went into effect February 4th of this year. Remember that. So for a long, long time he's been aligned with Big Pharma and has his fortunes invested there. But then last week gets worse when we find out that he entered into this agreement with 6 other governors, including Gretchen Lock 'em Down at All Costs Whitman and Ralph Kill the Baby After It's Born Northern Virginia, to team up with the Rockefeller Foundation. Don't have time to get into all the creepy history of the Rockefeller Foundation, but teamed up to purchase more and faster and less accurate testing. Because isn't that what we need, ladies and gentlemen? In the state of Ohio, we need more, faster, less accurate testing.
Then a couple of days later, the story came out, 7 governors joined deal in pursuit of first multi-state coordinated testing strategy.
Well, this is actually very damaging to Mike Dewine, because right after we find out about that deal is when he tested positive, so he couldn't meet with President Trump. And do we have the whole real story there? No, I don't think so. And then he turns around and tests negative the same day. But folks, this caused a lot of backlash, and I believe it's events like this that are kind of winning over an increasing number of normies. Who are normies? Normies are the people that didn't question this right away because they're too busy being good, decent people that just want to go to work, raise their kids, be good people. But even normal people can only take so much, and events like this help wake them up.
Well, you look at those things in the context of Mike Dewine first testing positive, then testing negative, and it has unleashed a lot of stories like this one. Dewine's conflicting COVID-19 test raises backlash, and backlash it did. I'm over here on Mike Dewine's Facebook page where they gave the explanation of him testing positive, then testing negative. The big story, or the big takeaway from this post from the governor's own Facebook is, if you look right here, 7,500 comments, and I just glanced through a couple of hundred of them, and if there is a positive comment on there, I sure can't find it.
Mike Dewine's Facebook was blowing up with negative comments, and a lot of those negative comments are coming from newcomers. So all newcomers out there, let me say welcome to the family. Welcome aboard. Our number is growing, and yes, I know that right now we're all in suspense about the big announcement Tuesday, because as he typically does, the bully in chief is holding this carrot out. He's going to make a big announcement about sports in the fall. But folks, just understand, his credibility base is eroding, and I do not believe that 80% approval, if that was ever true, it ain't nowhere near true right now. Let's change and shift our gears, shift our attention to the Honorable Tony Fauci, because he is got a few chinks in his armor as well. Let's take a look at Rand Paul real quick.
So I think we ought to have a little bit of humility in our belief that we know what's best for the economy. And as much as I respect you, Dr. Fauci, I don't think you're the end all. I don't think you're the one person that gets to make a decision.
Now, when Rand Paul said that to Dr. Fauci, that was a few weeks ago, that was a big deal because nobody had publicly stood up to him before. But that tide is turning, and there's some momentum. And I'm going to read, you can't see it, but I've got an article of Lieutenant Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor of Texas. This is from early July, but he made this statement on the same day that presumptive Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden announced he would put Tony Fauci on his team. Well, see, I didn't know that till a couple of days ago. I didn't know Joe Biden had made that announcement. But Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick points out that on that same day, Fauci criticized Republican states, including Texas, saying they had skipped over some of the steps in their plan to fight the pandemic. But he also points out that Fauci never criticized New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is responsible, in my opinion, for thousands of deaths in his state, sending COVID patients into nursing homes. And so this is actually a really, really big deal. Biden announces that he's going to continue to use Fauci as the czar of all public health. And the same day that he announces that, we find out that Fauci is really a Democrat operative. And one last thing, Dan Patrick points out that the New York death rate was 161 per 100,000. Texas is 8.3 per 100,000. You think there's a little bit of naked politicalness there? Yeah, I think so.
Fauci, do protests increase the spread of the virus?
Do protests increase the spread of the virus?
Fauci repeats the question because as a newly confirmed and outed Democrat Joe Biden operative, he simply cannot state the truth. Of course, if the virus can be spread by people gathering together, of course. The biggest amount of instance of that we've had is these stupid riots and all of that stuff. But Jim Jordan, and some people thought Jim Jordan was harsh. Look, he had 5 minutes. He did a real good job with it. It's worth going back and taking a look at it. But let's continue these amazing exploits of the Honorable Tony Fauci.
Do you now regret not advising people more forcefully to wear masks earlier?
Okay, we're going to play that game. Let me explain to you what happened back then.
Should be a yes or a no.
No, there's more than a yes or no by the tone of your question.
Ooh, little Tony's getting a little testy. Little Tony doesn't like being challenged. Let's listen to the rest of little Tony's answer.
I don't regret that, because let me explain to you what happened. At that time, there was a paucity of equipment that our healthcare providers needed, who put themselves daily in harm's way of taking care of people who are ill. We did not want to divert masks and PPE away from them to be used by the people.
Okay,
now that we have enough.
Okay, let's take a moment and break down little Tony's lie, okay? It's a lie on two fronts. First of all, if there was a shortage of medical grade PPE and there simply wasn't enough available for the rest of the public, he could have said so. He didn't. He said it wasn't necessary. He said it gave a false sense of security because people would touch and have confidence in these masks that really wasn't warranted. So that was a lie. But the other side of the coin is this. What is the big push right now? The big push is mask, 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 mask. But it's not everybody has to go out in public with an N95 on it, or an N95 on. Everybody doesn't have to go out with medical grade face coverings. No, as long as you've got a rag, as long as you've got a dish towel, as long as you've got a shop rag around your face, they're happy, because it's all about compliance. What Tony Fauci just said in Congress was a lie. Strong words, I stand by them.
Well, I want to ask you, you mentioned side effects.
So now we're going to watch the emperor of medical dynasties, Bill Gates, and he's going to get a little bit rattled too. This is from about a 28-minute long interview with Norah O'Donnell, CBS, and I want you to watch Bill Gates' body language. Bill Gates likes to come, he's got this endless supply of Mr. Rogers sweaters, and he likes to talk with his hands and sound real intellectual, but in the end, there was about 13 minutes that led up to this question, and all the time he's real calm. But you're going to watch as he fields this question. He's going to fidget in the chair. He's going to touch his glasses, touch his nose, touch his shoulder, and he's going to dance around, bob and weave. And, well, just watch.
The side effects for the Moderna vaccine sound concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect, ranging from severe chills to fevers. So, are these vaccines safe?
Well, the FDA, not being pressured, will look hard at that. The FDA is the gold standard of regulators, and their current guidance on this, if they stick with that, is very, very appropriate. And you know, the side effects were not super severe. That is, it didn't cause permanent health problems for the things there. You know, Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose, and so you know, to get the antibodies.
Poor Moderna, they had to go with a really high dose. Oh, and I forgot to mention, yeah, the obligatory take a drink of coffee to give yourself a chance to think. But this isn't just a, look, I don't like Bill Gates. I don't trust Bill Gates. So, yes, I get some sort of weird sadistic pleasure from watching him be uncomfortable. I will admit that. But what's really important here is what he's doing, obfuscating, beating around the bush, deflecting, bob and weave. And so watch this next question as the comfort level gets ratcheted in the downward direction.
Yes, I think
you know the data
US
better than I do.
government-
But the data showed that everybody with a high dose had a side effect.
Yeah, but some of that is not dramatic, where, you know, it's just, you know, super painful.
Oh, it's not dramatic. What is this? See, that's a nerve. But it's not dramatic. I mean, it's just super painful.
But yes, we need to make sure there's not severe side effects. The FDA, I think, will do a good job of that, despite the pressure.
Despite the pressure. What pressure are we talking about, Bill? He makes several veiled attempts to discredit the Trump. He wants the viewer to think that Trump is pressuring the FDA to roll out at lightning speed a vaccine that is dangerous. And of course, that positions himself as the savior and one of the adults in the room, one of the moderators that save us from the excesses of the Trump administration. But I think people see clear through that. We're going to switch gears now and talk about money, which is one of the main things that Mr. Gates is all about.
I want to ask you about today, the government support, taxpayer money that's going towards vaccine development. Today, we learned Pfizer is going to get nearly $2 billion. Moderna receiving $438 million in taxpayer money. And yet both companies have said they will not sell the vaccine at cost. They're going to make a profit on it. Should pharmaceutical companies profit off this vaccine research that taxpayers have helped fund?
Okay, so that's the question. Now, his answer is kind of long. You want to watch it, all right? But watch not just for the body language, but as you're watching this, please ask yourself, does he ever actually answer the question?
Well, the Pfizer case is more of a procurement agreement than an R&D funding agreement. AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson have said they're going to use a non-profit construct. You know, the exact contracts that were negotiated, I don't have access to. But yes, you'd want to balance the fact who's taking the risk and who gets the benefit of those things. It's fantastic that the research is being funded, and you know, I hope those agreements in terms of pricing and access are very strong.
Yes, I doubled those two incidents of nervous laughter because I think it's important. This is a human being. I hate to call Bill Gates a human being, but he is a human being, and God loves him. But he's in the process of being very duplicitous. Did he ever answer the question? No, he never answered the question.
I mean, we heard from the HHS secretary say today that the vaccine will be free for Americans, or affordable. So that means the government will help purchase it from companies that are making a profit off of that we helped fund the research for. Do you see any problem with that?
Well, some of the vaccines are being done by companies on a non-profit basis.
Now, I hope I don't lose you on this. That last thing that he said, it played tricks on my ears. When I first heard that, I thought he said, my company's on a nonprofit basis. That's not what he said. He said they're being done by companies on a nonprofit basis, and it really played with my head. And then I realized it doesn't matter, because on a nonprofit basis can mean a lot of things, but in terms of Bill Gates, a lot of people most people still believe that he is all nonprofit, and folks, that just ain't so. We're going to talk in a minute about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust, but listen to what he says about his special relationship, a relationship that nobody else on the planet has. And nobody else is in a position like he is to have a relationship with Tony Fauci. I don't like it. You watch and see if you like it.
It's great the U.S. government has been willing to fund vaccine manufacturers. Our foundation is partnered with them on that. That's something in my regular phone calls with Dr. Fauci we update each other on. Okay, how are we working with various companies? Which ones do we think we need to add to the mix there?
We update each other on various companies. Folks, I don't know where to start. I mean, I don't know why we give this guy such a who appointed Bill Gates to be the moderator? If this really is a legitimate pandemic, who appointed Bill Gates to be the moderator, the referee, the behind-the-scenes and not behind-the-scenes influencer of who's producing these life-saving vaccines? And if he's discussing this with Tony Fauci, I can't think of another term that comes to mind quicker than insider trading. I mean, here's the thing. We're not going to go into a lot of detail right now, but there's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and there's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust, which makes investments. And you better believe that he's got investments that are influenced by the outcome of this whole charade, as Captain Picard used to say. Folks, this insider position, and nobody calls him out on it, this just ain't right.
What is the scalability going to be so that not just the U.S., but the entire world gets the vaccine?
I just wanted to get him on the record one more time in this video, stating outright that he wants to vaccinate the entire world, and we act like that's normal. Okay, we are going to switch gears now, and we are going to observe Bill Gates in a big, bold, blatant lie. I was trying to think of another B, but I don't have any. Bothersome, big, bold, blatant, bothersome. But bothersome's kind of mild. Anyway, we're going to watch a lie in progress. We take you to a lie in progress right now.
You have been the subject of a disinformation campaign. In fact, the posts on social media about you and coronavirus are considered the most widespread coronavirus falsehoods that exist. So I want to address some of them. To be clear, do you want a vaccine so that you can implant microchips into people?
No, there's no connection between any of these vaccines and any tracking type thing at all. I don't know where that came from.
Okay, I want to address this, okay? Forget about the chip, because a chip could be involved, all right? But his answer was there's no connection between any of these vaccines and any type of traction or tracking whatsoever. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a lie. It is a lie. Now, there's lots of ways that you could track people. Biometric ID that has vaccination and health records tied to financial transactions, okay? You could use a bracelet. You could use a MasterCard. What if that was happening? Would that mean that Bill Gates is lying? If this article looks familiar, that's because it is. We've been to Mint Press News before, actually on this very story, but I'm going to read beginning right here. This website doesn't highlight very well. MasterCard, in addition to professing its commitment to provide centralized record keeping of childhood immunization, also describes itself as a leader toward a world beyond cash, or a cashless world. And its partnership with Gavi marks a novel approach towards linking, now listen, biometric digital identity system. That's biometric digital ID, vaccination records, and a payment system into a single cohesive platform. Read the last sentence. By a $3.8 million in Gavi donor funds, in addition to a matched donation in the same amount by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In early June, Gavi reported MasterCard's wellness program would be adopted in response to the coronavirus pandemic. And let's just read the last sentence. The wellness program, including Gavi, MasterCard, and Trust Stamp, will be launched in West Africa and will be coupled with a COVID-19 vaccination program once a vaccination becomes available. Folks, we'd be here another 20 minutes if we went into all the references about Bill Gates and his involvement with digital IDs. They just about digital ID'd the whole country of India, various places in Africa, okay? And when he talks about it on the financial side, all right, it's all about financial inclusion. But no, what it's really about is financial exclusion, to exclude people from being able to conduct any type of financial transaction that can't be tracked and can't be controlled. But getting back to the subject matter at hand, this MasterCard program that went into effect, and I think it was June 20th, but it was in June, all right, that is going on right now. And it does have vaccination record information, health information record. It does have financial records and information. It's going on right now. It is attached to the COVID-19 vaccination program, which is coming. So I'm going to say it again. When Bill Gates on CBS News says there's no connection between any of these vaccines and any type of tracking, that is absolutely a bold and bald-faced lie. And I appreciate Nora O'Donnell. She's come the closest to any journalist I've ever, well, a news reporter, don't really want to give her credit for being a journalist, but she kind of asked some pressing questions a little bit, and that's the only time that I've ever seen that from Bill Gates. And so here's what I'm going to do. We're going to wrap this up, but remember that clip I played in the very beginning of this very lengthy video where Bill Gates said that his computer wrote it? I'm going to play the rest of that answer, and I just would hope that you would let it process in your mind. Is Bill Gates capable of lying? Is Bill Gates extremely capable of dancing around the edges, bobbing and weaving, obfuscating all of that? You watch and be the judge. I've already made my decision.
And you type in here, importance, high.
No.
No?
No, I didn't type that.
Who typed in high?
A computer.
A computer. Why did the computer type in high?
It's an attribute of the email.
Uh-huh. And who set the attribute of the email?
Usually the sender sets that attribute.
Who's the sender here, Mr. Gates?
In this case, it appears I'm the sender.
Yes. And so you're the one who set the high designation of importance, right, sir?
It appears I did that. I don't remember doing that specifically.
Right.
Folks, that's the real Bill Gates. He hasn't changed. He's the same guy. Yes, he has spent hundreds of millions of dollars refabbing or rehabbing or reshaping his image. He has hired expensive PR firms. He underwrites what used to be the McNeil-Lehrer NewsHour and underwrites all these media outlets to give him nothing but favorable press. He's even produced cartoons that depict him as a superhero. He can do all that. He's still the same. He's still the same Bill Gates, and I don't trust him. But the good news is I believe more and more people are seeing through this facade about Bill Gates, about Tony Fauci, and bringing it back home to Ohio. I believe more and more people are pulling back the curtain on our governor. So if you learned anything from this video, share it, because people are wondering, and share it with them. I believe more and more people are waking up. I'm going to try to make 2 promises in the future. I'm going to improve the audio quality of this camera system. I apologize for that. And in the future, I'm going to try to post anything that I do in a format that you can go to the links for the references that I have. Because if say that I've got references for it, I do. If I don't know, I'll say I don't know. And if I ever make a mistake, I'll say so. The reason I can say that I'll say so is because I'm not part of the media. I'm not part of the media, so I can say if I was wrong about something. I'm going to say goodbye right now, and at the end, I'm going to leave you with a bonus clip of just some more Bill Gates creepyism. But until next time, God bless you. God bless your wonderful family. And God bless the state of Ohio. And God bless the United States of America.
Okay, you asking me about when I wrote this email, or what are you asking me about?
I'm asking you about January of 1996.
That month.
Yes, sir.
And what about it?
What non-Microsoft browsers were you concerned about in January of 1996?
I don't know what you mean concerned.
What is it about the word concerned that you don't understand?
I'm not sure what you mean by it.